On behalf of the Student Alumni Relations Cell, we welcome you all to our event, Emerging Trends in NFTs, a fireside chat. We have with us our guests, Mr. Himanshu Yadav and Mr. Prakhar Sharma, who will be sharing their insights with us today.
Mr. Prakhar Sharma is currently the co-founder of Metasky, a platform that enables digital NFT creation and unique blockchain-powered experiences. Metasky is primarily focused on the creation of NFT collectibles, metaverse experiences, and raising awareness about crypto economics. He has been working in blockchain technology and finance for a long time. He was the founding member of CoinSwitch, an India-centric cryptocurrency investing app with 100 plus cryptocurrency trading pairs and 11 million plus customers. He has also founded Touch Analytics in his college days. He graduated from BITSIANS in 2016 with a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and a master's of science in economics.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
So, going with the introduction of Himanshu, sir, Mr. Himanshu Yadav is currently the founding partner of Woodstock Fund, which is a multi-asset investment fund focused on investments in emerging technologies, primarily focusing on distributed ledger technology with emphasis on four areas: public DLT, decentralized finance, tokenization, and Web 3.0 protocols. Today, Woodstock is one of the largest funds out of India, focused on investing in blockchain and distributed ledger technology. He graduated from BITSIANS in 2012 with a bachelor's degree in electronics and instrumentation engineering and has previously worked at some great organizations such as Sabre Holdings and Ultimate Sun Systems Private Limited.
Hey guys, thank you for having me. And please don't call us sir, it just sounds weird.
Yes, exactly.
So we shall start with the questions. Both of you are alumni of the Goa campus, and it is famous for the amazing club culture. Our audience would love to know your life at BITS and what all projects and clubs you were a part of.
All right, I'll go first. So, having an engineering college in Goa, I think is one of the most unique experience. So I remember days, right after Compre, we used to take a bus to Baga and watch David Guetta live. So I think there are hardly any colleges in the country that provide this kind of experience, right? And also, while coming to clubs, I was mostly active in the Wall Street Club, and I was the coordinator of Wall Street Club in 2014. And essentially, that was a very interesting year because that was the year when Narendra Modi became Prime Minister for the first time. And that year, Sensex looked most like cryptocurrencies, right? Whatever stock we used to touch, that used to go up. So very interesting year at that particular thing. Apart from that, I also founded the Enactors Goa chapter, where we used to look at some of the social entrepreneurship-based projects. And coming to academic side, I did a very interesting project back at that time. So that project was called JANS, Gate Entry Management Software. So that was a software, where whenever you come into the campus at 10:30 and you have to scan your ID card. So in a way, I had this particular project for 2 semesters where we developed the software and implemented at the gate. So even that was a very interesting time, when we were implementing the software, and if let's say there is anyone who is coming into the campus, later on they will visit my room and ask me that whether you got caught at the gate, because I was sitting over there helping them run the software. So that was one very interesting project that I did back there in college, and essentially it helped me to elevate my CGPA because I hardly used to go to class and my CGPA was going down. So these 2 semesters I got straight A's in this particular project, and that was a really great experience.
Cool. So for me, I was primarily involved more on the DC, which it's quite famous in college. So that's where the name Woodstock comes from. So I was very active on that side. I was part of college cricket team, so represented the team for about 3 years for all the college tournaments, for some division cricket that we were playing at that time. Apart from this, I was very curious about the business side of things always. So, I took some electives like international business, etc., which were really interesting. Is there someone else who's audible, whose voice is coming in between? Probably at my end, there's an echo. Yeah, so that was mostly about the college journey. One of the greatest things, obviously, to learn by being part of a college like BITSCO is the amazing cultural exposure that you get, right, by being part in the middle of people who are there from all parts of the country, and all of them the smartest minds that you are working with and engaging with. So that really sticks around and helps you explore different dimensions in the space. And after that, I did my internship with Saber Holdings in Bangalore, and then I worked on a startup in Bangalore for about 3-4 years. That did not scale up well. Then I jumped ship into the solar energy space, where we've founded a couple of solar power companies, one of which named you mentioned Ultimate Sun Systems. There's one more, Utrecht Solar Power Limited, which is into power production. So I was doing that for about 4 years before I ran into this rabbit hole of crypto and blockchain somewhere in mid 2017. And just started reading about the space. And I think typically what happens is anyone who spends like 2-3 months in this space dedicatedly, they tend to understand how big this massive universe is, and there's typically no going back. So that's what happened. So I couldn't focus on the solar business anymore. I was just started with personal angel investments, understanding the space, how the tech stack architecture is shaping up, where the value will accrue, what are the right kind of projects and teams to invest in. So did that for about 1.5 years without really knowing the direction I was going to take next. And I think in 2018, me and Prakhar met for the first time in IBC conference, which was happening in Hyderabad, the International Blockchain Conference, which was the biggest conference at that time, and blockchain was just getting started in India right at that time. So we met there again. Both of us were just exploring, what's happening in the space, what to do in the space. So then finally in early 2019 is when we decided to go on the venture fund journey, because this was something that I personally really liked in terms of investing in the best founders. The kind of exposure you get from just meeting the best founders in the space is probably the largest exposure, right? So I was very curious to continue on that journey, and we saw a huge gap in terms of no one was taking venture capital seriously in India in this particular sector, which was a massive opportunity in itself. If you can start something on that side, build some credibility, work with some of the best founders, so and then scale that product up, right? So that's how we started, and we have been at it since then. So almost, in fact, tomorrow it's the 3rd year anniversary of our fund registration that we did. So we're completing 3 years from our fund one. We have about 60 portfolio companies that we are about to close by this month end, and we have just recently launched our fund 2 as well, which is focusing a lot more towards institutional investors and family offices.
Firstly, congratulations on completing 3 years, sir. Like, you'll be completing 3 years tomorrow.
Thank you.
That was really interesting to hear. I completely agree how important the club culture is. And even personally, all of my club batches and seniors have helped me a lot, both academically and non-academically. It really opens a lot of doors for opportunities. So moving to the next question. This question is for Prakhar sir. You have been the founding member of several ventures right from your college days. You founded Touch Analytics back when starting up was not so mainstream and easy. You were also the founding member at CoinSwitch, which has become a giant in the crypto space today. We would love to know the details about your entrepreneurial journey.
Yes, see, when I started Touch Analytics, like it started more like a project. I had like nothing, that sort of a planning in mind to just scale it commercially, right? But it happened maybe just because of the environment I was in, that in the same corridor of my hostel there were 3 companies that were in building, right? And the same year, BITS also started the NVC course, right, and another course called Clio. So in our batch, there was already this particular wave of starting something while they're in college. So, just seeing other people starting up, I also thought that, why not just look at this particular project more in depth and see that how it can be scaled right there. And then other thing was, there was this particular semester I had, where I was doing nothing much. So I had a lot of time in my hand. And in turn, it gave me the opportunity to explore this in more depth. And, and also the support, especially from the seniors and the LMs. So I reached out to a lot of them in terms of, just shaping the business. Like now it looks like more like a trivial thing, but back then, each and every discussion, each and every negotiation was something, that was like the first experience was something in which it was a lot of learning and a lot of back and forth that you need to do. So that was one. With CoinSwitch, like Ankit, who is also my co-founder at Metasky and also like from the same batch at Bits, he gave me a call one day saying that there are these three people in Bangalore, and we are trying to build a system in which we can buy bitcoins for a cheaper price. So essentially, back there, CoinSwitch was more like, you can say, Go IB book, but for buying cryptocurrencies, where you used to list the prices from all the different exchanges across the world, and like people can come in, and we used to make money more through the affiliate route and not through the market making route. So we did that, and it was essentially a very interesting journey, because there were days which was essentially, now the industry call it a crypto winter of like 2018 and 2019, when there was no volume in the market. Bitcoin was down to $3,500, and like we were also doubting ourselves whether we took a right decision in our career, right, doing this startup. Then there were also days in which Elon Musk will tweet something about Dogecoin, and there will be like 200,000 people trying to buy Dogecoin at CoinSwitch, and all the backend system will go on fire. People are complaining on Twitter that they can't buy Dogecoin. So all ups and downs. So this was a very kind of an interesting journey, because in turn it also gave me confidence that to build a multi-billion-dollar business, you don't need some sort of superpower, right? If you just go in and keep on doing the same thing again and again and again with a good view and focus on the market, then anyone can build a billion-dollar company.
It's good to hear how passionately you've handled yourself through the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial journey. I especially liked your line that you don't need to be it's not a superpower to, build a multi-billion company. Let's go on to the next question. This is for both of you. As a Web3 founder and VC, you both know the ins and outs of this slightly confusing space. How did your Web3 journey start, and how did you decide to build Metasky and start Woodstock?
Himanshu?
I can probably go first. I think I already covered half of this answer in my first part. But yeah, coming to how it started is actually a funny story, because I was in solar energy business before this, right? And one of my family friends had called me up that he wants to install a solar rooftop plant on his office building. When he was in a real estate business, they only had two computers, not like high power requirements, right? And I asked him why, and he said he wants to mine Ethereum in his basement. So that's when I first heard about Ethereum. It was somewhere in July 2017, and that's when I just started exploring the space. And I think I briefly covered that, just went into the rabbit hole, did that for about 1.5 years. It was not easy. It's never easy to be a founder, especially if you become somewhat successful. It always, probably in hindsight, it seems easy, but surviving in this market in 2018 was definitely not easy, and I'm sure Prakhar has already also been there. So going through that whole phase, actually, and in hindsight, obviously it was good, because that essentially cleared out all the noise and gave us a lot of time which was necessary to really understand what's happening in the space, and where the value will accrue. And that's how finally, when we felt ready that we are ready in terms of our understanding of the space, both on the fundamental side of things and also on the market cycles and the technical side of things, into how this market works, and how essentially volatility is going to be a part of this journey for the foreseeable future till this asset class matures, is when we felt fairly confident that we are now ready to start the venture fund journey and at least start testing the thesis out that we are building, right? So when we started in 2019, we deliberately kept it very small. We did not want to, raise too much capital, deploy it too soon, too aggressively. So we invested only in 5 projects in the entire 2019, waited to see how those pan out, how the space evolved, how the underlying layers matured, because even your layer ones were not ready to support the application layer at that stage. Finally, by 2020, we started seeing, layer ones starting to get some scaling solutions, whether it's layer 2 scaling like Polygon Matic, what they did for Ethereum, and other layer ones really starting to kick in, right? In terms of supporting the application layer is when we saw the emergence of DeFi, which happened in 2020, and 2021, the NFT as an application layer really started to explore, which is when we started shifting our focus a lot more towards the application layer investments and products. So that's how the starting journey has been. It's always a continuous process in this space to really evolve in terms of where the space is going, because if anyone would have asked 2 years back, people wouldn't even have known the word NFTs, right? And right now it's the buzzword which is there on probably everyone's terminology, which has become very, very common, right? So it's about really being and trying to be on top of things. It's not easy. It's probably we still can't cover everything. I'm sure there are so many things that we also don't know. It's a journey, and that's the fun part about it, to find something new every day and to learn something new every day.
Yes, yeah, that is true. So I think there is never a single dull day in crypto industry. There is something all the other which will keep on happening. Something will go to the moon. Some celebrity will launch an NFT. So in terms of coming every day to the work, it is a lot of excitement, right, about this being in this particular thing. So for me, essentially, one of the main motivation behind starting Metasky is that I think we all are lucky to be in this particular kind of decade where we are seeing a lot of tectonic shift in terms of that the whole financial world, how it works, right? So one great example, if you see the World Economic Forum, which is going on in Davos, they are talking about a great reset where they are saying that the global monetary system, how it can be shifted in such a way that it becomes more kind of better and adjusting to the new world, new internet era which is coming in. Right, and even Indian government is also announcing CBDCs, so that is also essentially a great move. But if we see very fundamentally what happened over here, it is Bitcoin came in, which is founded by some anonymous fictitious character or group, right? And now it has a community that people are there on Twitter fighting just for Bitcoin to just show the supremacy. So this is some sort of incentive alignment that happened that without kind of leader community built up, right? And it is self-sustaining and going on for 10 plus years when most of the governments was against it at a particular point, right? So if we see this particular shift which is happening, and maybe if we can build some sort of this kind of a communities for all the other things which are happening, right? So all the other things could be anything. It could be a community of artists which is self-sustaining. It could be a community of gamers. It could be a community which is maybe behind Dogecoin or any other currency. So in a way, Web3 provides the perfect tooling for building these communities which are self-sustaining, self-growing, and it provides incentive for each and every participant to be much more aligned in it, right? So while observing some of these trends, and even with CoinSwitch, we were more on the financial side, where we were in a way helping people to onboard into Web3 from the financial perspective, giving their portfolios and exposure to cryptocurrencies as an asset class, right? But if you look at NFTs, this is another gateway, for more artistic people to come and realize the power of Web3 infrastructure, right? So when I was talking to a lot of artists and all the other people, it turns out that they know that there is something NFT and there is something decentralization DAO, but they are very good at what they do. But they stops at this particular thing, the complexity which Web3 as a system introduces. So there, one of the main motive, our North Star, while doing anything at Metasky, is to make this experience so easy that artists focus on what they do best, right? And we focus on, like, in terms of providing them this particular infrastructure so that they can build their engaging communities.
Just to add to Prakhar's point on how exciting this space is, I remember one day I went to sleep, and by the time I woke up, there was a new DeFi protocol that had launched. They had gotten 100 million of value logged in their protocol and gotten hacked by the time I woke up. So
Yeah.
all within 6-7 hours.
Yes. Yeah. So like, same with me, like being 5 to 6 years into this, every day I feel like I know nothing. Like there is a lot of learning that needs to be done on an ever ongoing basis. But this is something which also makes this space very interesting.
That was great to hear. I mean, it's always inspiring to hear how entrepreneurs evolve through their journey, especially through the times when things don't really look bright. Moreover, what I personally find interesting is the motivation that runs behind building something from scratch. And I'm sure everyone in the audience also enjoyed hearing how Woodstock and Metasky have found their way to success. So that brings me to my next question. The relationship between a VC and a founder is really special and demands a lot of trust. Himanshu sir, you invested in Metasky and you've seen it grow all these years. We would love to know, how did you two meet and what was the thesis at Woodstock when you decided to invest in Metasky?
So first time I met Prakhar was in IBC conference, so that part is already covered. But then I think last year, sometime around October, we were hosting. There were lots of crypto Web3 conferences happening in Dubai, and Prakhar and Ankit were traveling here as well. And there was a side event that we were hosting for our portfolio companies, people in our network, etc. So that's when we connected again. We ended up discussing quite a bit about what these guys are planning to do, and obviously NFTs, metaverse was the space that we were keenly looking at. So when we discussed more and more about it, first thing that was absolutely clear to us was this is a very strong team, right, which has the right background and the experience. They have the Web3 experience, they have the right technical experience to build a product of scale in this space. So that was a complete no-brainer in terms of backing the team, right? And after that, it was just about discussing more and more about what to build in the space, what are the gaps that we see in the NFTs in the metaverse space, how can we really solve those problems, because this space is still very nascent, right? It's still very complicated for an average user to navigate their way around NFTs, how to buy them, how to store them, with what is the real value behind them, whether most of them will probably 90% of them will probably go to zero, right? There's a lot of hype that has come in, especially in the last few months. So instead of focusing on that side of things, how can we really focus on solving the infrastructure problem that exists, right? So that's the problem these guys were decided to tackle, and that was a use case that we definitely were keen to back in terms of how do we build the NFT infrastructure layer which can help especially non-tech savvy users create the NFT experiences, gaming experiences, metaverse experiences, and also build engaging communities, etc. Right? So the team was a no-brainer, the use case was a no-brainer. So we decided to partner up and see how we can take things forward. And I do agree, it's a relationship of trust, because there's a lot of work that needs to go hand in hand in terms of working with the founders, really brainstorming on the ideas, providing them whatever experience, insights we have in the space, whether it's related to the NFT space, helping them connect with other projects, our other portfolio companies where there might be synergies, helping them brainstorming if it's a token, how to design the token, what are the best token engineering methods, what are the best token utilities to build in to make it sustainable for the long term. So, and especially in this space, I would say it's a lot more collaborative, right? So everyone tends to work very closely with each other and really, provide value to each other.
Yes, true. So like, this is not a space, where you can build a product in silo and then launch it. From day one itself, you need to have a community, which in turn is checking you out at every step that you make, right? So it is always better to have the community first, and with the guidance of the community and kind of feedback from them to make the product. So like coming back to the IBC conference, I went there. I essentially went there just for the free lunch that the hotel was offering, right? And there I met Himanshu, and he was like meticulously talking to each and every company that was presenting over there. So, and somehow like Woodstock, it has a very strong BITSIAN culture, right? So when we started thinking about this particular ideation thing, and as we were more on the like crypto trading side, this Web3 communities are a bit different from those ones. So Woodstock essentially helped us to get an entry into that particular community, right? So in our last trip to Dubai, Himanshu generously like threw a really great party over there, and I think like Himanshu is actually being humble, but I think they are one of the funds which have put India at a global stage when it comes to building companies which are doing really great in the Web3 space. See, right now, if you see any domain within Web3, you will see an Indian company doing really well, and most probably Woodstock would be the one backing them. So in a way, we directly got plugged into this particular ecosystem, and I think every day, like at least I exchanged 15 to 20 messages from someone or the other within the Woodstock team. So it is like more like joining a family instead of being in a VC or a founder kind of relationship. So we just went there just like a very crude idea, and I think at every point in terms of shaping the whole round, getting Sequoia capital in, getting some of the really great angel investors into board, designing our tokenomics. So like that was something like which helped us a lot in terms of getting in there. I personally never felt this kind of like a VC founder relationship. Like it was so thick that I just used to message him at any time, and I used to get like all the replies very promptly. And whenever there is anything, we jump on a call and just sort it out. So yeah, great thing going on.
That's because we have been BITSIANS first and whatever founders later. So that I think that relationship always stays, and that's probably one of the best things about BITSIAN community and the alumni network in general, right? Whenever you talk to any BITSIAN, it's always very friendly. You don't feel like you are talking to someone.
That's quite an interesting story, and it's good to see here how BITSIAN community has been such an integral part of it. Moving on to the next section of the event, this question is for Prakhar sir. Sir, Metasky has several incredible features to enable tokenization. Particularly the fact that anyone can become a creator using the platform is exciting for the users. You also have some of the big players in this industry as your investors. What is your vision for Metasky?
Yeah, see, like I partly answered it. Like our vision is to build infrastructure that any sort of a creator, whether it's a musician, an artist, maybe a brand, like for them, they focus on what they do best and whatever is required for them, like that we provide it as an infrastructure. So, nowadays there is a lot of talks about metaverse. So one of the main reasoning of thinking the name behind this is that if you want to lend to a metaverse, you need to pass through Metasky. So that is like more like a portal that we open for creators to experience the Web3 side of world. So this is more on the long-term vision and like more like a guiding star of how we take all our product decisions and all our product placement decisions. But from a tactical standpoint, like what we are trying to do in the next 1 year, next 2 years, is to enable certain sort of experiences, right, onto Web3 and showcase that okay, these are the kind of utilities that can be built on top of it. So like in our opinion, NFTs are more like a channel that gets created from maybe a creator to their fans or their consumers. And once you have this particular channel established, there could be multitude of utilities that can be built on top of it, right? So as of now, like we have some of the very well-known brands who are like using us for giving out some of their experiences to their customers, and which is they are seeing this more like a loyalty management program, but loyalty management program on steroids. Like everything is very fast moving, and there is this whole glimmer of the NFTs and other things. Second, like we have developed this kind of an in-house game, kind of a play to earn, experience to earn game called Tanukables. So this essentially also has a very interesting story where we met a community in Japan, and they are the one who took this folklore and converted it into a game, did a kind of a community-based fundraising through releasing NFTs. And now there is such a community behind it that they are coming up themselves and building up some of the experiences that are not even in our product roadmap, right? Like they are coming in, maybe some of them are writing raps around that particular character, and like some of them are producing manga comic books. So it's like a community creating a kind of experience around it. So these are some of the tactical things that we'll be doing in the next 2 to 3 years, navigating multiple domains and see that where it fits best, and then scale it from there.
Great to hear how amazing Metasky is doing and the interesting ideas and initiatives that you have in pipeline. I hope everyone in the audience is quite excited to hear about the future of Metasky as well. So, Himanshu sir, as a VC, what advice would you give to a Web3 founder looking to raise money? What are some aspects like the project structure, roadmap, and token design should one focus on while building in this space?
Oh, there are quite a few things that you have to focus on apart from these 2, 3 as well. So I think first and foremost thing would be to take your time to really understand the space, where it exactly is, because it's very easy to, sort of jump into one particular category and see, okay, this might work. So it's very important to take your time to really study what already exists in this space, right? What are the categories you like? What are the use cases you like? Is anyone else already working on that particular use case, or what are the problems that you are yourself facing that after your research you are just not able to find a solution for? So always start from there, take your time in terms of identifying the problem and the use case, and once you have done that, you have to really break it down into what are the key components of building a Web3 product, right? And obviously it starts with team, like what is the team that you are going to work with? Do you already have co-founders that you want to work with, or are you going to be a single founder? Typically single founders tend to be single person risk, right? So that problem also has to be solved. It's always good to have 1 or 2 co-founders with you in your journey, right, who are equally passionate about what you are planning to build. So identifying the right team, really breaking down the product, what are the different components you would need in the product? Do you have the right skill set between, let's say, you and your co-founder, or the 3-4 people that you have identified in the team? Having those complementary skill sets is very important, because you might be good at product or business. There might be someone else you need who's really good at coding and actually building the product out. So identifying people with the right complementary skill set. Then obviously you move to the next steps, which are what is the roadmap? How are you going to plan the different phases of the product? How are you going to sort of plan for what is the budget that you might require for each and every phase, and what are the kind of initial funding that you might require, right? And typically it's always better to at least have a very clear vision about the idea, even if not a proof of concept, because especially in this space, fortunately there's enough capital available in the space that people are willing to take a bet on you if you have a very clear focus and idea about the product without actually having to build something out, right? So that's an advantage that is there in the space, which you probably typically don't find it easily in the Web2 space. So capital won't be an issue as long as you have the right team together, the right use case identified together, and at least a clear vision in terms of how you are going to execute on that particular roadmap, right? And then there are different nuances, really thinking about what, depending on your use case, what is the best business model for you as a company, right? Do you want to go the traditional route of equity where you are going to have different revenue streams? Are you planning to build a platform or a network where there can potentially be a token that can be a part of that platform or network? And what is the token utility that it can have within that platform or network, right? And then brainstorming on that token utility. Okay, this is where the token might play a part in, and this is how we can potentially have a token in the future. And if you identify that, then you probably just go ahead and do a token raise, because you are going to have a token in the future. So typically you would have heard the terms like SAFE, right, which a lot of equity investments are done on, like simple agreement for future equity. In this space we have SAFT, like simple agreement for future tokens. So if you are going to have a token on your in your platform or network, it's best that you just raise directly on a SAF, that you are going to build this platform and network out. Eventually down the line you will have a token which will play a utility in this platform and network, and that is where the investors can come and invest in. So really thinking about what is the best use case, what is the best channel for you in terms of equity or token raise, and then having some clear thoughts around pinning those down and then moving forward.
Yeah, so right on point. And one thing that you will observe, that there are hardly any companies which die out because they ran out of cash. It hardly happens. What usually happens is that the company is not able to get a product market fit, or maybe like the founders break up, right? Or maybe like the industry, they are not able to get a good read of the industry at the first place, or maybe their tech is not strong enough to get the product out. So mostly money is never an issue for us, like a failed startup, right? It is mostly the basics, like the more of the pre-thinking that you need to do before you go out and raise a particular round, right? So initially, raising funds looks like kind of a daunting task, but in the life cycle of a startup, I think most probably that would be one of the most easiest thing. Like all the other things are the more challenging ones, right? Where you have to keep your team intact, have a culture, like, because when you are growing, for the first 20 people, you will be like in a way always communicating with, right? But if you want to have a culture in which the next 100 people who are going to join you are also coming in with the same intensity to work every day. So those are the difficult things which in turn make or break any startup.
I'm sure everyone took notes of that, given that this Web 3.0 space is seeing a lot of passionate entrepreneurs. And it's good to hear the playbook from an investor and a founder themselves. Like you mentioned, NFT has become a buzzword over the past few years, with everyone eager to hop on the bandwagon. Even Metasky emphasizes on empowering the community. Why do you feel NFTs have gained so much popularity amongst the masses? And can this be seen as an asset to the development of the underlying technology?
See, like NFT, we see NFTs are more like a channel, right? Once you like create a channel, maybe uniquely identify that who your best customers are, and after that you start giving utilities on top of it, right? So we are already seeing more like a version 3 of NFTs right now in the market. The version 1 was more like some famous artist will come in, put out their paintings, and it will sell out for millions of dollars. Someone will put up a GIF of a cat or a monkey, and it will again sell off, right? But nowadays, if you go and look at OpenSea, which is one of the biggest marketplaces of NFTs, you'll see a lot of inventory which is not getting any traction per se, right? Because I think the market has already moved from evaluating a particular picture to asking that, okay, what is the utility behind buying this particular token, right? So now there was the version 2 of when NFTs came in, where which is like mostly called the generative NFTs, where you maybe launch 9,999 or 5,000 odd monkeys, dogs, and other things. So mostly, if you see their roadmap, they will have some or the other sort of a utility behind them. Like some of them are making movies, some of them are making gameplays and doing different things. So this is a really great way for IP recognition, IP creation right from grounds up, right? Now the version 3 of NFTs are more like where it is working more like a gateway pass to a community, right? So maybe if you are exploring this particular area, you will see that some NFT projects apart from NFT also have tokens, right, which are fungible in nature, and they are part of these DAOs, which are decentralized autonomous organizations, right? So in a way, we are also like very bullish on this particular trend, but instead of scaring people off with DAOs and all these governance and very heavy words, we are calling them clubs. So clubs is something which everyone understands, right? Like if we see like even the cultural fests that we have on campus, like some of the coordinators and other people have the backstage pass, right? So backstage pass is something which is unique in number, and they gives like a kind of a more utility than someone who is holding just maybe like a entry pass to the campus, right? So NFTs are also something similar, right? Where if you are holding a particular NFT which has a specific rarity, then you in a way belongs to a particular club which harness a different sort of a power, right? But if you are within a community and you need to make this particular community self-sustaining, then you need to have some sort of a model in which there is a flow of value around it. So there is a need for a fungible token, which in turn governs this particular community, right? And like if you see D stands for decentralized. Decentralized means there is no single person or a kind of a group who is taking the decisions of how it is being made. So maybe like there are mechanics in which the NFT holders in turn will make a collective decisions that what will happen with that collection, right? By casting a single vote, right? Autonomous means like if there is anybody, any country or any organization, if they have an independent treasury, right? A treasury which is not in influence of anything, that introduces autonomy, right? So the governance is mostly used for taking votes on that how the treasury is going to function, right? So if these are the things, maybe like a particular club who is taking care of a particular fest, right? If they collectively take decisions by asking all the club members that okay, whether we should get Domino's in campus or whether we should have Pizza Hut, then this is something which is more decentralized, and in a way through this tokenomics you can recognize that who are the people who are more involved in what particular different capacity within these DAOs. So because of this particular thing, now we are in a position where we see a lot of brands struggling to extend the lifetime value of their customers. So like nowadays, if you see many, like most of the apps, they are running these schemes that okay, if you refer someone or if you log in, you will get 50 rupees or 100 rupees. So this is essentially the customer acquisition cost, which a lot of startups, lot of companies spend a lot on it, right? But once you get the customers in, you also need to maintain like what they are going to do once they are into your system, right? It should not be that you pay a lot getting the customer, they experience your service for some time and after that they leave, right? But think about it that if you are able to build a community around all of these people that you are getting into your business, into the service that you are providing, and these community members have some sort of a way in which they can have a monetary incentive aligned to the success of the whole brand and all the other things. So in this way, like we are able to increase the lifetime value of some of the customer of brands, right? By shifting to this sort of a club formation, which essentially is a DAO behind the scene.
So to add to that, there has been a lot of discussion around NFTs, right? And NFTs in their most basic definition is just digital authentication of any item, whether it's in digital world or in real world, right? And what we have seen over the last 12 to 18 months is a massive hype wave, because cultural NFTs are the ones which, as Prakhar also mentioned, are the ones that kicked off the first phase of NFTs coming into life and existence, right? And because of those cultural NFTs, we saw a wave of all your influencers, celebrities really jumping onto the bandwagon, doing NFT drops, etc. So we have seen pretty much everyone do it, whether it's your Lionel Messi, whether it's your Hollywood production houses, including Amitabh Bachchan, etc., have all explored the NFT drops, right? And so there are two ways to look at it. One side of the argument is that essentially those NFTs don't do anything, right? What is the use of those NFT drops, etc.? And the other way to look at it is, why do we value something in the first place, right? So the basic principle by why anyone values even art is because it's scarce. It's been designed by an artist who's probably very good at what he does, right? The same scarcity you have just applied to a digital domain now, right? So that there will always be people who will value that scarcity, whether it's in real world and whether it's in digital world. More and more people that the generations that are coming in now, they live in the digital world. With metaverse, they will start living more and more in the digital world. So they will value digital scarcity probably much more than the real world scarcity, right? So there are both sides of the argument. I think a lot of people tend to miss the argument that why digital scarcity is going to be so important when you look at where the whole metaverse and those kind of discussions are going, right? And it's a good thing that this kind of hype wave came from cultural NFTs, because whenever you have that kind of immense interest come into a particular space, so many eyeballs come into a particular space in technology, there are always people who then sit down and really think about, okay, what else can we do with NFTs, right? What is the next stage of growth that we can have with NFTs? And so even internally, what we have a thesis and we have a blog post on our website as well around this. We classify NFTs into cultural NFTs and utility NFTs. We have seen a lot of cultural NFTs till now. The next few years are all going to be a lot more about utility NFTs, right? And when we say utility NFTs, every single thing can be turned into an NFT, whether it's your driving license, whether it's your college degree, whether it's your health record. And when you combine that with other technologies like ZK proofs, etc., you will be able to show that data in a very private manner, where you're not disclosing your identity while still disclosing just enough which is required for whatever particular service you might want to use, right? And similarly, utility NFTs will also cover your things like your bills of lading in supply chain management, right? All of those will be easily tradable by converting into NFTs, etc. So there are many more applications that are being explored already on utility NFT side, which we'll see more and more, coming up over the coming years.
Being a person who follows NFT developments regularly, it's quite interesting to see the kind of transitions this whole space is undergoing. It was lovely to hear how you explained it all with such a simple analogy. So tokenization or trading in NFT marketplaces is considered safe due to the decentralized and distributed nature of the blockchain. But with news of the decentralized finance platform Wormhole being exploited by attackers, how do you think people can be convinced to stay on board?
See, currently, if you see, this is a characteristic of every industry which is in making, right? Like you can't have all the things perfect on day one, right? Like initially in 2014-15, we used to hear a lot of crypto exchanges getting hacked and a lot of people losing out their money. But right now, the state of art of all these crypto exchanges is so good that you will hardly hear news like this. And even if this happens, like it's very difficult for anyone to escape with those funds, because the trail always remains on blockchain. So if you see decentralized finance is something which is so new, right? And all the smart contracts which are coming up, they have to still get vetted by the broader communities, and there will be these small hurdles that will keep on coming up. But if you look at the total value that is being flown through the whole system, this is a very minuscule and a very small percentage of the loss that people incur. And coming future, I think these things will be in much better shape and size.
Yeah, see, these things are always going to happen whenever you have a new emerging technology. We have seen this similar stories with internet. We have so many Web2 websites getting hacked, their data getting leaked. Even today we see that, right? But just because one website has gotten hacked, you don't stop using the internet, right? You understand, there might have been not enough, probably security practices that were being followed there. Maybe, and even despite you doing your best, there's always someone who might be smarter to break into your code, right? Because eventually it's code. There could be ways to figure out. So these things will happen. That's why it's important to be cognizant of the risks in the space and not experiment with something that's relatively new. I think that's probably one of the best cautions you can take. And even in case of Wormhole, it was a bridge that got hacked. There was no hack of the underlying protocols, whether it was Ethereum or Solana, right? It was a bridge that got hacked, and bridges are at a lot more risk, right? In terms of, because through bridges, what you're trying to do is move assets from a completely different technical architecture protocol to a completely different technical architecture protocol. And there you have multiple attack points, right? So it's aware to be cognizant of those risks and try to understand the space. Okay, this could be a high risk point, so probably you should not be too exposed to that, and let it emerge, let it grow, let it go through more security testing, more audits, etc. And only after it has some certain legacy behind it is when you should start getting more comfortable with the newer products and technologies that are being experimented with, right? But these things will happen, and this is a part of the journey whenever any technology evolves.
Yeah, I think it's quite natural for any new technology to have its own pros and cons. However, it's always good to see the kind of value it will add to our life. So, moving on to the last question. Both of you have been in this industry for years. What advice would you like to give to students who are looking to enter the world of NFTs and Web3?
See, the thing is, like, if you look at Web3, there are so many different angles in which you can explore it, right? If you are a coder, you can come in and start building systems. If you are from a business side, then look for like interesting business models that will emerge in this particular domain. Third is, like, if you have a background in economics, then there's this whole world of tokenomics, which is still like very new, and a lot of interesting things can happen. So maybe like one thing is having an interdisciplinary approach. Like, if let's say your core trait is maybe coding, then have a secondary trait where you understand the economics as well, right? Or if your core trait is economics, then also have a kind of a good understanding on product development, or like maybe product management, right? Something like this. So see, this is a new world, but the core kind of skills are something which needs to be there, right? So that is there. Also, another thing is like, as we are talking to a lot of customers, we see that as this is so new, a lot of people, like, in a way, find it hard to get to understand the system. So like, first week of March onwards, we are starting a boot camp on LinkedIn, which is free for everyone to join in. So as of now, we have this culture that anyone who joins Metasky, we have this red pill session. So red pill session is something in which you have to give away all the myths that you have about the current monetary system and start looking from Web3 in a kind of a different lens. Because like, if you see traditional economics, there are multiple school of thoughts on the basis of which, like, multiple economic policies and economic theories are built up, right? The same is with Web3. Like, in Web3 also, you will see that like, people have multiple theories that how this industry will evolve, right? And this is what makes this very interesting. So in a way, in our red pill session, we emphasize on a particular school of thought of Web3, right? And that is also we are going to open up through our bootcamp sessions that we are going to have on LinkedIn. Also, like with Metasky, we have a lot of internship opportunities open across all the domains. So any of you are interested, please drop me a mail and contact me in any way. And like, it is always a pleasure to work with fellow BITSIANS.
Cool. I'll add by saying if you're just getting started into blockchain Web3 space, start from first principles. Start learning what Bitcoin first. What exactly Bitcoin is? Why did it come into existence? What is the value proposition it provides? What is it that Bitcoin could not do that we needed Ethereum to come in? What does Ethereum enable, which is essentially your smart contracts? What was Ethereum lacking that we needed other layer 1 protocols to come in? So you start from very basic first principle and go step by step from the foundational layer on which the smart contracts and the application layer is being built. So understand about Bitcoin and the bottommost layer 1 protocols, which are your settlement layers. Then come to the middleware layers where you have your Oracle layers or your indexing solutions or your privacy layers, etc. And then finally you start learning about the application layers, right? So understand what is the full stack. Start from the bottommost layers, go up, and then go into specific categories. When you get to the application layer, you will finally have your decentralized finance, DeFi, NFTs, gaming, all these categories at the top. So but it's important to go through that whole journey to really understand where the value might flow across the whole stack and why each and every layer is important in this space, right? And what are the advantages of particular solutions? What are the disadvantages? what is one protocol doing different from the other protocol, and on which protocol the application layer is being built, where is the most activity happening, where are the most developers going. Because eventually, even if you want to build a product, let's say in NFT space, you have to take the first decision on which layer one protocol are you going to build it, right? So you need to really understand the bottommost layers to take even the first decision about your NFT product that you're going to build. So start from the basics. It might seem very overwhelming. It will seem very overwhelming because the space has completely exploded in the last 2 years in terms of sheer pace of development. And one thing that I would encourage on that side is be part of the communities. This space is extremely good at collaborating. One of the reasons this space has grown this fast is by open source collaboration, right? Because most of the work that happens is open source. So people build on top of each other's development very, very quickly. And every project that you see, like Metasky has a Discord channel, every project will have a Telegram or a Discord channel. Whenever you are researching about a project, go to Telegram, go to Discord, join their channels, see the chat that's going on, see how people are interacting, find common people that you like. Maybe someone has sent a message or idea in a group that you really like. Drop them a DM, talk to them about the space. They will respond. They will talk to you. People are very open in the space. So you find those people that essentially are as curious as you are about learning in the space. And once you do that, at least the overwhelming part will come down, where you won't feel, that you're trying to make an effort alone in terms of understanding the space. You will have people, you will have, other fellow people that you will be bouncing off ideas with. And slowly, you can start learning more and more about the space.
That brings us to the end of our discussion. We had some great questions from the audience as well, but due to lack of time, we might not be able to ask them here. So I'd like to take a moment and thank Himanshu and Prakhar for taking out time from their schedule for us today. It was a pleasure hosting both of you and being a part of this enriching discussion. I'd also like to thank our audience for joining us this evening. We hope it was a great learning experience for you all.
Thank you for having us, Arushi, Tia. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.
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 Bye.